This podcast is brought to you by Deepbridge Capital LLP. Deepbridge is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Please note that investments discussed are both illiquid and high risk and won't be suitable for all investors and should be considered as part of a diversified portfolio. The content of this podcast should not be construed as financial or taxation advice. We recommend investors seek appropriate professional financial advice. Any views expressed may no longer be current and may have already been acted upon. Welcome to this latest Deepbridge Discovery podcast. My name is Andrew Aldridge. I'm partner and head of marketing at Deepbridge Capital. The aim of these podcasts is to bring to life some of our investments, our people, our colleagues, our partners at Deepbridge Capital. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Simon West, who's COO and founder of arbnco. So Simon, thank you for joining us for this podcast. First of all, could you possibly just give our listeners a bit of an overview and background to arbnco?
Yeah, sure, Andrew. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. So, hi everybody. My name's Simon West. I'm co-founder and chief operating officer of arbnco. We're a prop tech company. We class ourselves as a building performance optimization company. And in essence, Andrew, what we do is we work in the field of commercial real estate, and we ensure that commercial real estate is as energy efficient as it can be, which is absolutely high priority now with net zero, which I know we're going to talk about at the moment, with the net zero pledges that governments have made around the world and large corporates have made around the world. So we basically we have patent pending technology on how to do this at scale, how to identify problem buildings and then solutions, fully costed solutions, be them renewables or retrofit. And in line with that, and very prevalent right now, which often conflicts with energy efficiency, is health and well-being in the indoor environment. And obviously coming out, or now with the latest variant of COVID coming into play, very, very top of mind at the moment. We're seeing some significant traction for our products around monitoring indoor air quality. And traditionally, kind of the indoor environment, health and well-being conflicted with building energy efficiency. The two didn't correlate. And that's in essence where we really come together. We have one platform with two verticals: energy efficiency, indoor health and well-being. Bring them together. Standalone, we're kind of market leading in both of those, in energy efficiency and indoor air quality and health and well-being. We feel we're market leading globally, but combined, we're absolutely unique in the marketplace. So it's a very exciting time for us at the moment, right now.
So in terms of kind of getting to this point where you are now market leading in various areas, etc., kind of how has the company evolved kind of, and during your journey since Deepbridge first met you, and I remember meeting you several years ago for a coffee, and it was a very different company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the business was founded back in 2015 was when the company began, and we began life producing and delivering energy performance certificates. We were a small team of 4. My background previously was I founded a energy performance procurement portal that worked with all the big pension funds in the UK, helping them comply with this legislation. My co-founder and CEO, Maureen Eisbrenner, started an engineering company that morphed into that kind of EPC business, energy performance certificate business. And we joined forces, actually, Maureen and I. There's a bit of a story behind that, but we'll come to that later.
There's always a story. Yeah.
Our two businesses were very well aligned, basically. Maureen's business was one of the vendors on my platform. My business has got acquired. I liked what Maureen was doing. Customers were asking for her solution, and we got together and hence that's kind of the background to the history of us two as co-founders of the business. But back to your question, is we began like producing these energy performance certificates and then doing some simple analysis on those, because the feedback was, which is mainly these big REITs, real estate investment trusts, okay, we've got thousands of these EPCs and it gives us some vague information, but actually it's giving us more of a headache than a solution, because it's telling us we should do things and we're not compliant, but nothing else. Then we have to go and find a solution. So we started to develop some simple analytics around, okay, taking the data, running, doing some simple analytics and providing some simple solutions. And that was the beginning of a kind of the light bulb moment from these big institutional investors, big pension funds that have thousands of commercial buildings. Okay, guys, you're really onto something here. Can we take this to the next level? We want to know more, and we like the way that you're starting to disrupt the market to bring real efficiencies to this process. Using the power of technology, and from those beginnings, we've now grown to a team of 50 based in the UK and the US, with patent pending technologies and some significant contracts. We've grown out of that we're still involved in it heavily in terms of the REITs and the big property owners, property managers, but we're moving into the utility space, which I'm sure we'll come on to shortly, in the UK and the US, which gives us access to millions of buildings. So it's a fantastic opportunity.
And I guess that kind of demonstrates that the product, your software, your platform has been developed through demand rather than you going out to market saying, this is what we're doing. It's very much been built with the consumer in mind.
Absolutely. That's our biggest kind of mantra really, is we don't develop for development's sake. And, it's an easy thing. You can get drawn into that trap thinking you know what your customer wants. But we're absolutely all about the voice of the customer. And one of our products, the air quality platform that we developed, Live and Well, came about exactly from our engagement with Nuveen, one of the world's largest real estate investment trusts. So it's absolutely about what are the challenges in the market? What challenges are our customers facing now? Where do they think their challenges are going to be in the future? And how can we deliver a product that satisfies the immediate challenge that they've got? And importantly, we have a strong product development roadmap, which we actually engage our customers with on that roadmap to bring them on the journey to ensure that what we're developing, is going to be fit for purpose for the future.
Brilliant. And obviously you mentioned kind of the whole kind of environmental aspect and what's going on in terms of managing the energy performance of buildings and what have you. The business is based in Glasgow, and obviously fairly recently we've had COP26 in Glasgow. So I guess kind of two questions around that. Firstly, kind of how did you end up being based in Glasgow? I mean, you're from the southwest of England, Maureen's based over in the States. So can you just tell us a bit about that? And then kind of what did you get up to during COP26 and what did that kind of mean for you guys as a business?
Yeah. Well, there is a longer story, but the very short version is why we're in Glasgow. Maureen's mother and father were from Scotland. And it's her father that wanted to invest. He was a successful businessman who emigrated to the US back in, I think, the 50s, 60s, successful, unfortunately passed away, but it was his wish to support his family back in Scotland. And that kind of created the investment in the business back in Scotland, which went from this engineering company with Maureen's uncle, her father's brother, and kind of transcended into where we are now. So that's kind of the history. So that in short answer, that strong family connection still is for our CEO and co-founder Maureen to Scotland. And the other reason we're there is it's extremely supportive of SMEs and technology companies. We've aligned ourselves with the University of Strathclyde. We're actually in the Innova building, which is owned by the University of Strathclyde. Fantastic A-grade building, right next door to the University Innovation Centre. You're only allowed to be in there if you're in the kind of the innovation space, sustainability, energy sector. And through that relationship, the other reason we're there is that there's a huge amount of grant funding available for companies in Scotland. They're very competitive, kind of competitive with England, if you like. They want to be kind of leading the way, that old kind of rivalry there, Andrew, between Scotland and England.
It's never a bad rivalry. It's always good.
It's a small country, but a very strong, progressive country, very ambitious country. For example, Scotland has signed a memorandum of understanding with the state of California. It's where they're sharing knowledge base and ideas around environmental sustainability, which is fun. So that just one example of the kind of the progression that Scotland's in. So it's fundraising, they're progressive, and it's got great academia, as in Strathclyde, which has been helpful. And also through that relationship with Strathclyde, we have what's called our Arbon Labs team, and that's built up of our PhDs, software developers, data analysts, data scientists. The majority of that team, around 30, has all come through that University of Strathclyde channel. We all know running a business and starting a business, how hard it is, A, to find great talent, attract great talent, because it's a very competitive market at the moment in the space, and then retain it. And Scotland's been great for us for that.
Brilliant. I think that is when we speak to other investee companies, one of their biggest challenges is finding the skill set and finding those people to come in. So to have a ready-made kind of channel for skills coming into the business must be hugely rewarding.
Yeah, and I'll come on to that. And just before I go on to the COP26, the other really important point to make is even just recently we've done a couple of additional very strategic executive level hires on the sales side. But in general, you're only going to attract good quality people if you've got a fantastic, exciting, scalable product. Because I say it is very competitive out there. I think it's a testament to the business that we've got, that we can attract and retain, though not always easy. This high level of talent, and it's a testament to the business that Maureen and I and the team, with the thanks to Deepbridge through the funding, have developed. But back to COP26, I mean, what an opportunity to have that in our hometown. So it's COP26. COP stands for the conferences of parties. I don't know if you knew that, but it's basically
I only found that out the other day when I was doing some research before this. I was thinking, what the hell does COP actually stand for? So thank you for that.
It's a yearly event. It's built up of just 196 countries, just under 200 countries, and this COP26 was all around obviously net zero and climate change, sustainability, but all these pledges that governments, corporations around the world are making. And it leads on from the Paris Agreement, which led on from the old Kyoto Agreement back in the day. So you had the Paris Agreement, which came about in COP21, which was the beginnings of which is 2016, which is set the precedent for trying to keep global warming below 2 degrees. Pre-industrial levels, and the latest COP26 now, interestingly, which is very timely, is the document that has come out the back of that is called the Glasgow Climate Pact. So this basically replaces the Paris Agreement. So for us in our business, in our field, to be in Glasgow and have that document named after the fantastic city that we're in is superb. And the theme is interesting because we were there for the full 2 weeks. And we actually had the managing director of one of our customers, Southern Company Ventures. They're a top 3 utility company out in the US, supply about 1 million commercial buildings, energy, which is fantastic. They've actually partnered with us. They're a paying customer, very exciting. Loads of opportunity, loads of revenue opportunities, and it's going to open up the door to many other, and we're seeing already, utilities in the US, because no one wants to be left behind. They're a very progressive utility.
And very competitive market as well, so they all want a piece of the action, which is great.
Absolutely. So I think a real testament is they actually flew their managing director of Southern Company Ventures to be with us for the whole week, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely superb. We hosted a number of roundtable events, fireside chats, talking with Jim Heath, with us. So Jim's the guy from Southern Company, and he was articulating why they're partnering with arbnco and their challenges as a massive utility company, the challenges in the US and what their customers are facing around net zero, and basically how our technology is helping them to deliver the solution. And to be, as you know, Andrew, over the years, to be working at this so hard, it is a lot of effort, but we choose to be in this. We love what we do as a company. We love working with Deepbridge. We're so committed to it, and it's been at times a struggle. There's been big challenges, COVID just being one, but also an opportunity which we'll touch on. But to stand there with Maureen actually and the rest of the team and hear this guy talking about why they're working with arbnco and why they're using our technology was a real kind of hair raising on the back of the neck kind of moment. It kind of made it really real. So it was fantastic to have him over for that week. It was a true testament and I think a show of intent from that organisation as well to invest in coming and joining us for that whole week.
But also really powerful for other people listening to hear from your clients about why they're using you? I mean, it's easy for you to go out and sell and say why you're so great, but to have somebody else saying that on your behalf it must be hugely powerful.
It was huge, and it caused, I mean, the inquiries and some of the kind of the opportunities coming off the back of that, and the people that we met throughout the series, because especially from the state, there's a huge United States contingent coming over, from government to corporations. We invested quite heavily in it. We had a cocktail drinks reception. We had about 80 people turn up, very selected on who we invited. But the general theme throughout the whole of COP26, from our small events to some of the key events as well that were held with world leaders, was this cannot be done alone. This is all, the theme was all about collaboration with business, collaboration with industry, and the importance of companies like ours. Okay, kind of young technology companies. We're not startup. We're in scale-up mode.
Absolutely.
But these technology companies like arbnco, that need funding, that have the solution, that are going to be scalable, that are scalable now, and have a real impact to make that change. So that was the key message that was put across to large corporations and the world as a whole. The whole world now needs to collaborate if we're going to hit these net zero pledges by 2030, 2050, and ideally now moving on from the Paris Agreement, which was global warming below 2 degrees. We're looking now to keep it 1.5 degrees. That's the challenge. That's what we're going for. It's a massive challenge, but why we feel we're in a very hot space. 40% of carbon emissions come from buildings. So we're absolutely, it's a very complex global challenge for all sorts of vertical markets. And we feel we've got a really strong solution for it. And evidence is that is some of the customers that we're working with.
Fantastic. So obviously, the whole climate change agenda is massive opportunity for you guys. You touched on slightly earlier. You touched on kind of COVID being an opportunity as well. Kind of what are those key opportunities for you at the moment that you're working to kind of maximise and commercialise?
Yeah, sure. So it's all about ventilation in buildings and schools. I mean, when I say commercial real estate, we're in hospitals, schools, offices, retail. We're not just talking office premises here. Social housing is classed in that vein too. So the challenge that we've got now is ventilation and managing CO2 levels, because CO2 levels are a proxy for ventilation, and we need ventilation in buildings, to keep them healthy. So, to give you an example, we won a £300,000 contract 4 months ago to deploy our air quality monitoring platform in 30 schools. That was working with the University of Cambridge and the Department of Health and Social Care. And what's interesting is these academic bodies, we're quickly realizing, are a huge influence on the government in terms of providing technical advice and support on what needs to be done. And that was a very successful deployment. And we've got our air quality monitoring technology and analytics, important around analytics of that data. We're deployed in 6 countries at the moment around the world. It's exciting. But back to the UK specifically, what's led, due to the new variant that we're all hearing about right now, we just actually a week ago were asked to help be part of a tender writing consortium to deploy our software for a tender coming out in February to another 2,000 schools. And that comes off the back of the success that we just had with this recent deployment. And that's 2,000 schools out of, there's 36,000 primary and secondary schools in the UK. So this is that's a big focus for government right now. So that's one example of where we're seeing significant traction in the public sector, which is a big market for us. But in line with that, it's back to the REITs and where we began our journey with these big pension funds, who own huge commercial real estate portfolios. Their kind of retail portfolios were under the cosh a bit with online shopping and the demise of the high street, etc. And people, especially during lockdown and COVID. But what they found is, coming out of COVID, and now we're back in it with a new variant, but it was their office portfolios that, with people having to work from home, shutting down rent reviews, that part of their portfolio is now come under significant pressure. So what they need to do, and this goes for the big REITs, this goes for the large corporates, this goes for local authorities, they need to encourage people back to work. And to do that, they need to show that the spaces that they're going to work in or learn in or live in or play in are well managed in terms of air quality and ventilation. And that's exactly where we sit in that space. There's nothing new about sensors in buildings, millions of sensors and millions of buildings, but it's what we do with the analytics of that data to provide meaningful and actionable kind of reports on what to do to improve. And then going one step further, it's then when you integrate that data analytics with the energy analytics we're bringing in, which identifies energy efficiency measures, when we combine those two together, you've then got real-time monitoring of that building in terms of energy efficiency, and now just as importantly, if not more important, the occupants within the building. And that's what was being missed before. People weren't thinking about who's in the building, and now that's come right to the fore. And that's where we're in this really hot, exciting space. And we're not being vulturistic. We're not taking advantage of this awful kind of time where we are in the world, but we truly feel that we've got solutions here that are here to help. And I think winning large contracts with the government is absolutely evidence of what we've got here.
Yeah, I think also, the REITs and the property funds, etc., the pension funds investing into property, etc., with increased drive towards ESG and sustainable investing, etc., I guess they will probably, over the longer term, need more and more reporting and information about the actual sustainability and the energy efficiency of their buildings as part of that kind of drive to attract investment themselves.
Yeah, even 5 or 6 years ago, kind of ESG sustainability on an annual report, one of these listed PLCs was probably somewhere hidden in the back page. Now it's front and center. Open it up, it's not. It's on the very front cover. So it's absolutely front and center, and it's driven by these net zero mandates that countries are setting around the world. And it's like, you guys, everyone in our country, from individuals to businesses, you're all following us on this road. And there's going to be there's a carrot here if you do it, and there's a stick here if you don't do it. So you've got legislation driving this, and companies, organizations, local authorities looking desperately for solutions, and we've got it. And I think just showing that some of the contracts that we won, we've won a contract with Centric here in the UK, which run the British Gas brand, as we all know. But for those that may be listening abroad aren't aware, they're one of the big 6 utility companies in the UK. Southern Company, as I said, one of the top 3 utility companies in the US. You don't get these people's time, let alone money, unless you're serious and you've got a compelling solution that's scalable and is going to be basically help their bottom line and win and retain customers. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah, they don't do it as a vanity project. It's got to be for commercial reasons, which is great. So you kind of mentioned previously a hair on the back of your neck kind of moments, but kind of since kind of founding arbnco, kind of what have been some of your highlights?
The biggest thing for me is the team that we built in this company and the culture that we've created within arbnco. It was a team of 50, but we got very strong ambitions. We got lots of growth happening, focusing on sales and marketing. Absolutely. So it's the culture that we created within this company that's driving the company. You don't just build a company, you build a team that the team built the company. So that's what I'm most proud of, is finding these guys, first of all, creating something that's going to attract this kind of talent. And that comes from the R&D team right through to the sales, these very high profile sales guys that we're attracting to the market. So creating a product and getting traction that attracts these people and then bring them in. And honestly, they're all saying, wow, this is nothing, at no place like I've ever worked. The ethos, we're actually doing compelling, interesting stuff that we're actually seeing is making a difference. We're not just, it sounds corny, but it's true. We're not just a number on a payroll. We're actually contributing here. We have a voice in terms of, how the company's vision. And we do. We listen to everybody. Absolutely. Why wouldn't we? We've got such smart people. So that for me, Andrew, is the biggest thing. It's this creation of this culture and this fabulous team that we've got that's only going to help us grow.
I think it's one of the things that I love about seeing arbnco grow is that you've kind of grown on a similar trajectory to Deepbridge. We've been growing as an organisation at similar lines. We are a similar sized team, over 50 people here, and it is very much about culture and that kind of ethos that you guys have got as well. So yeah, great. You talked about the future and kind of big ambitions. What are your hopes or objectives for the kind of next 12 months and beyond?
3 words: sales, sales, sales. I mean, it is. It's all about now sales, because we got the product, we got traction, we secured big contracts with really one salesperson. The whole leadership team's been involved in one form or another in closing some of these big deals. These aren't walking down a high street, knocking on a door and selling a deal. These are multi-year, potentially multi-million-pound SaaS deals. We're all about SaaS revenue. This is going to build value for the business, create the valuation that we're all striving for. So yeah, it's all about getting that investment, getting the revenue in, bringing on these salespeople, and taking this globally. It's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge we're absolutely up for, with the support of Deepbridge, which is critical. And it's exciting to see that what we can do with such limited resource, and where we are going to go with the resource that we're striving for. We know where we can take this thing, and it's going to be a big deal.
You mentioned internationally. Obviously, you're already very much a kind of cross-Atlantic organisation with a heavy presence in the States, and you mentioned Southern Electric. So yeah, it's great to see that kind of expansion already, and I guess the sky's the limit beyond that, because you're solving problems which aren't just linked to the UK or the US. These are global problems.
They're global problems, and some of the organisations that we're contracting with are global companies, so they'll have real estate or customers all around the world. I mean, we're doing stuff in Mitsubishi. We're working with Schneider Electric. We're deploying out in their head office in France, their innovation center, where they showcase all their technology, for example, in Grenoble in France. They bring it. I mean, they're a huge global organization, employ 60,000 people, billions of turnover. But they bring their corporate clients, who are also global conglomerates, to places like their what they call their Technopole Center, and show off to them the art of the possible, and what's available, and new technologies that are in the market now. And we're front and center of that. So it's very exciting. We're all about strategic partnerships, channel. We're all about strategic channel partners. How to scale this quickly. With the right kind of strategic partner. We get knocked on the door. People want to get involved, but we're very careful who we partner with, because we built this kind of reputation for the business, and we need people that have the same culture and ethos as what we have, and just as important, if not as important, is the ability to really scale and give us the growth that you, Deepbridge, and arbnco together collectively that we're after.
Brilliant. Kind of a slight change of pace now, Simon, just kind of away from arbnco, which I know is kind of all-consuming when you're a founder of a business, and particularly a rapidly growing international business, then work is all-consuming. But a kind of away from the office, kind of how do you unwind? What are your personal interests?
Okay, well, I've got a youngish family now, but my eldest is away in the Navy, but my 2 youngest are quite sporty, so I enjoy certainly watching football or rugby or cricket, or whatever it may be, on the weekends. You may not believe it, I do try to keep a little bit healthy and fit if I can. So
you're looking very lean, Simon. You're looking very lean. Well done.
Yeah, well, in these times that we're in, I think it's really important, and we promote it within the company. It's I do start the day early in the garage on the bike, do something. I need to do half an hour, 45 minutes of something to get me going. I enjoy kind of keeping relatively fit. I live just down the road from the rugby club. I joined an over 40, show my age now, over 40s touch rugby club on a Thursday night, which all gets wasted after the few beers we have after the game. So generally keeping fit. I enjoy that a lot, and I just very much spending time with my family. And I love the weekends. I absolutely just socializing with my friends over a couple of beers, children, dinners, just chilling out is probably my favorite pastime, is chilling out at home.
That's a good favourite pastime. That's good. And then just kind of closing, I keep saying this on these podcasts, but for copyright reasons, we're not taking you to a desert island. But kind of what's your go-to book? What's your favourite film, and kind of what's your favourite song or album?
Well, starting with this song or album, you might not know this, but when I was 19, I went away for a couple of years traveling, working on boats, and sailed around the world pretty much. And my family's always been into sailing. From as young as I can remember, we used to have sailing holidays. So it might sound a bit corny, but the Old Rod Stewart "We Are Sailing" is a song of mine. Brings back memories mainly with my dad. Mainly with my dad when I was about 11 or 12.
First night of holidays on the boat, singing, yeah.
Yeah, singing out with my dad. And then obviously being away on the boat for a couple of years, sailing around the world on these amazing multi-million-pound yachts for very wealthy owners. That kind of has a resonance for me. And my oldest son just joined the Navy as well. Sometimes I think of him quite a bit when I hear that. So big corny, but I do like that song. It's got a lot of memories for me.
Brilliant. That's the best answer we've had so far, by the way. That's good.
Is it? Book-wise, again, I used to read a lot when I was at school. I was not academic at all at school. I wasn't a great success at school, far from it. I left school at 16. So when I was kind of younger, I used to read a lot. When I was a kid, then on leaving school, I stopped reading. I was working as an apprentice carpenter. So I just moved away from reading, and then I went away traveling for a couple of years. And it's when I went away traveling, I met this guy, and good friend of mine actually, and he was reading an author called Wilbur Smith. I don't know if you've heard of him. He passed away recently, unfortunately. But his books were all about Africa and Rhodesia and people who struggled or had nothing and made their fortunes. And it was the book's called When Lion Feeds, and that got me back. And the reason I chose that book is because it got me back into reading. So that was I was thinking 19. Read it probably in 2 days, and it inspired. Then brought all of his books, and that's now I do read now quite a lot. And it was that that author particularly got me back into reading. So that's mine.
And takes you back to that time as well, no doubt. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it takes me back to that time. It had a great time, and also just inspiring stories about trying through adversity. Kind of people with nothing, working hard, taking some calculated or sometimes uncalculated risks. And being successful, but all the ups and downs of that journey, which I think sometimes as startups or entrepreneurs or business owners we all go through.
I was going to say it brings you back to the modern world, I guess. And the last thing, kind of favourite film or your go-to film?
I watched a film just recently called Kajaki, I think it was. It was about Afghanistan. There's a true story about the Paras. I've got a deep interest and respect for anyone in the military, and this was just a true story about these guys that they stumbled across an old Russian landmine area, and it was pretty horrific. But it was what was kind of just amazing was the willpower and how their training kicked in and how they got through this. It was like 9 hours of basic pure hell. But how together they looked after each other, took massive personal risks to look after each other. And I think out of the 9, one guy unfortunately lost his life. The others survived with some severe disabilities. But for me, it was just truly inspiring. And I take my hat off to anyone in the military that's prepared to go, because when you sign up, you know what you're going in for. So for me, that was a really inspiring film. And as I say, for me personally, I've got a real interest in anything military. So that would be my film.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you for your time. Fascinating as always. It's great to see arbnco flying as you are at the moment with the opportunities you've got ahead of you. And I wish you well throughout 2022. And thank you very much for your time.
All the best, Andrew. Thank you too.
Thank you for joining us. If you have any queries or topics that you'd like to be covered in future podcasts, please email us at discovery@deepbridgecapital.com and please look out for our future podcasts. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. This podcast was brought to you by Deepbridge Capital LLP. Deepbridge is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Please note that investments discussed are both illiquid and high risk and won't be suitable for all investors and should be considered as part of a diversified portfolio. The content of this podcast should not be construed as financial or taxation advice. We recommend investors seek appropriate professional financial advice. Any views expressed may no longer be current and may have already been acted upon.